Hello there everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be talking about all the mangas I've been recently reading. There have been around 8 series that I've been keeping up with. I'll be sharing my thoughts about each series and what I thought about it and also my rating. And yeah, so let's get into the video. So the first manga series that I've been keeping up with is the Ayakashi Hunter's Tainted Bride, Volume 1 and 2. And I've been reading the rest of the chapters on the Kodansha app because there's only volume 1 and 2 and like the rest of the chapters haven't been serialized into like the English volumes, so there's that. So the premise of this story is there's this girl named Nanao and she has very high spiritual power. And because of this, she is engaged to marry Reito, who is the young lord of like her clan. In this world, there are like clans that are meant to protect the nation or the city from these spirits called Ayakashi or yokai. And so her clan is a part of one of those clans that are supposed to protect, the rest of the clan. And so basically she's just meant to marry Reito, who is like one of like the clan leader's son, I guess you could say. And one day she loses her hairpin and she tells her cousin Akime, and she's like, yo, I can't find my hairpin, and Akime's like, don't worry, I'll help you. And so they're like trying to look for the hairpin, and the hairpin is near this forest, right? And they're not supposed to go in that forest, mainly because it's outside of their like clan barrier, because the Ayakashi are there and the yokai are there and they could easily just like snatch them up or like do whatever. And so Nanao's freaking out because she's like, I need to get my hairpin, like it's on the other side. And Akame's like, well then go get it, like she just pushes her to go get it. She gets it, but then Nanao gets tainted by this great yokai who's an orangutan, and he puts this sort of seal on her, and then she's also like carrying the smell of an orangutan. Her whole clan basically isolates her and just completely pushes her away because she smells and she's been tainted by, or they say tainted by, the great yokai. And now her engagement with Reito is like completely dissolved, and her cousin, lo and behold, she takes this opportunity to steal her man. So now she's married to Reito, and Nanao is left to wear a monkey mask, and she is basically isolated from everyone. She is basically abused, ridiculed, and treated basically like subhuman. That is until Yako, who's from a noble family that's a part of one of the 5 top clans that protects like the nation, and he's looking for a bride, and he sees Nanao and he's like, you're gonna be my bride. And they're like, what? But she's tainted, like you can't take her. And he's like, yeah, I can. I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. It was so great. Like compared to My Happy Marriage, I enjoyed this a lot more, and I felt like because the growth of the main female lead happened a lot quicker than in My Happy Marriage, and I felt like the main female lead was a lot more tolerable than My Happy Marriage. And I just also like the premise of this story, like the fact that there are Ayakashi and there's yokai, the elemental barrier. Each clan has their part to play in protecting the elemental barrier from the Ayakashi and the yokai. The characters, I mean, there's so many funny characters. There's so many like interesting characters. There's so many characters that you get so mad at because of just how deranged and unhinged they are. Like this story has so many unhinged and deranged characters in the best way possible, and it's like, oh my gosh, like it just keeps you on your feet. And for me, I think I also enjoyed reading this series, not only because it seems similar to My Happy Marriage, but also because I was watching Kami-sama Kiss, which is also like another like shoujo fantasy series. So watching that and then also reading this simultaneously, like it just felt like I was eating well, let's say that. I was eating well, and I really did like just reading about, again, the Ayakashi, the yokai, and like high spiritual power. 5 out of 5 stars for me. Can't wait to read the next whatever chapters are going to be released, and also can't wait till the series is complete so that way I can buy it all, because I'm about to spend it all on the next manga series that I read is called Roar, A Star in the Abyss. This one, okay, there's another series by the same mangaka, but different series. So this is her latest one, and I read her older series, which I'll talk about later because that series was absolutely crazy. But for this one, it basically is about this girl named Misato, and she, is living a normal life on the countryside, I guess, of Japan. And one day there's this TV crew that comes and they're like, hey, we need a young kid good at acting and can do a small part. And so her parents are like, oh my gosh, you should go do it, because Misato is like such a character, like she has a huge personality. So she goes and she does her part, and the whole cast and everyone who's on the set, they're like, wow, she's really good acting. But other than that, it doesn't really go any further than that. Like she does her acting, they're like, wow, that's really great, and then that's that. the show ends up being on TV, and so everyone sees her and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so cool and whatnot, right? But obviously some kids and some people were not happy to see her out of jealousy and spite, and this leads her to like, you know, feeling down about herself a little bit. But then her life changes when a fire erupts in her home. Her parents are basically have passed away. Neighbors are like, you know, helping her and like, you know, encouraging her to like stay positive, but like she's obviously really sad because she just lost her parents and she's really young. I think she's like maybe like what, 5 or something. Her life changes once more because a woman comes and claims to be her actual mother, and everyone's like, what? And so the story takes off from there. Misato has this new life with this new family. So this first volume, because it's this mangaka's newest series, so this first volume, I gave it a 5 out of 5 star. I really liked it. I could easily, like, again, because I read her past series, it was like the art style, you know, and just the way she writes characters. It's like, I was like, oh my gosh, it was taking me back to like the previous series that I read, and I'm like, man, this is so similar. This is such her writing style. It was very good, and I feel like it's gonna go in a very dramatic turn, if that makes sense. Like, if there's one thing I've learned from this mangaka is that the drama that she places in her stories are to the max. Like, she does not play around. She does not do little petty dramas like, oh, you said this to me, or like, you know, do like little misunderstandings that, you know, happen often in like, you know, shoujo or josei series, like, oh, like you said this but I didn't understand. No, like, he does like the max type of drama. Like, I'm talking about like things that you read in stories and you're like, there's no way that could happen, there's no way that could happen. She writes that, and it's like I could start feeling that from this story. Like, there's certain things that happen to Misato, like once she discovers her new family, that just, I'm like, oh my god, I know where we're going. It's like I'm getting flashbacks. It's like that, like, what is it, there's that meme, it's like Akira, no, it's like, like that was me reading this. I'm like, oh my god, I know where this is going. She's gonna literally put the drama to the max. Like, this woman's gonna drive all of us insane. Excited for volume 2. I'm really excited to see where the story goes. I really like Misato. Misato's very outgoing. She's like, you know, country girl and just very open and honest and real. So yeah, I'm just really excited to like, you know, see where this story goes. The next series that I read, and I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna finish it. I feel like I might, but just not now. And that series is Sweat and Soap. I know this has gotten a lot of hype in the past, and a lot of people like love this series so much. I was bored one day and I was like, you know what, let me give it a try. I do know that this has smut, but the smut, when I was reading it, it turned out to be very light. It's not very heavy smut, like nothing too crazy. So I did enjoy, and it's actually a weird combination of just wholesome and a little bit of smut combined, and I'm like, huh, this is really interesting, but I also really like it, and I also really like the art style and everything like that. The series is basically about this woman named Asuka, and she works at this, I guess, company that produces fragrant product, and Asuka has a problem with her odor. So like, she sweats a lot and she constantly has to like reapply, whether it's deodorant or lotion, just to make sure that she doesn't smell too bad. She has to do this all the time to like reapply deodorant and lotion, because in the past she had like really bad experience of being made fun of at school because of the way she smelled. And then we have Kotaru, who is, I think, the chief of something, and it's like related to like, again, fragrances, more specifically the soap. He's like into like the smells and fragrances, and like he can smell something like a mile away. Like, he just has an insane nose that can like smell everything. And one day he runs into Asuka and he's like, wait a minute, you smell like this particular way, like, can I smell you again? And she's like, no, because, you know, she's very conscious of how she smells, but he's like, no, you have this certain smell, like, I need to whatever smell you again. And that's basically how the relationship starts off, and then it takes off from there. And again, it was just a weird combo of like, yeah, there's some like, you know, adult stuff happening, but there's also like the, and I think this happens more, where it's like you see their relationship grow, them communicating, them being honest with each other, expressing to one another like how they feel about certain things. For example, like Asuka was explaining like how she felt about, you know, being open about their relationship in terms of like with other coworkers, or, you know, things like that. And it was just a really nice series to read. Like, I was reading this, and then I was also starting to read the Ayakashi Hunter's Tainted Bride at the same time. So I kind of was more invested in that story than I was in this. And I feel like if I wasn't invested in the other story, then I would have enjoyed enjoyed Sweat and Soap a lot more. But generally speaking, it's a really good series. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more and kind of breezed through it, because again, seeing Asuka and Kotaro, like their relationship grow, them growing as people and understanding each other more and seeing each other in like different lights and different settings, it was all really nice. I really liked this mangaka's art style and just like the way she like writes characters. Like it was all so good. So good that it propelled me into buying her other series. It's a one-shot called Home Office Romance, which I have and I plan to read. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but I read basically volume 1 to 3 and I was reading volume 4, or I was going to, but then I'm like, I think I want to like maybe drop it for now. I'll definitely pick it back up at some point. I give this series so far from like 1 to 3 a 3 out of 5 stars. And again, that's just because I was invested into another manga series. So again, if I wasn't, then my rating would have been probably a little bit higher. This next series, absolutely my favorite. Like, forget about 5 out of 5 stars, 10 out of 10 stars, 100 out of 100 stars, 1,000 out of 1,000 stars, 5 million stars out of 5 million stars. Like, this series is so good and I love it so much. I can't wait to read more. And that is Spacewalking with You. This one, okay, so basically the premise, there's this guy named Koyabashi and he's not good at studying. At work, struggles to remember things, and the adults think, man, this kid, like, what's wrong with him, right? And one day a new classmate comes and his name is Uno, and Uno's very, I guess you could say, different. Uno, he like talks very loudly and like he always carries this little notebook where he writes almost like his things to do, or just like in general things like he needs to remember. For example, like introducing himself, or like, you know, little things that I guess most people wouldn't necessarily need to write them down, but Uno writes them down. Koyabashi sees this and he's like, oh, that's really interesting. And they start to develop their friendship and it is just so wholesome, so relatable. What I love most about this manga series is that, and I've seen some people talk about it, how this manga series is basically a representation of like neurodivergency, which I can definitely see. It's not explicitly said in the manga, but you can definitely see through the actions of especially Uno and even Koyabashi and some other characters that we meet. I feel like what made it so great was just the rawness of it. Like seeing Koyabashi like really struggle with work and struggle remembering things and trying to learn things, but feeling like he's like maybe dumb or that there's something wrong with him, and just him expressing all those emotions. Like they're emotions that I feel like everyone can relate to, and it's just like, it was just so well written and it just felt real. It felt like I'm like reading somebody actually going through something, and I'm like, same thing, like I also struggle too. And like seeing Uno write down things, it was like, oh my gosh, like again, it's just like seeing the rawness of like, somebody having or finding a way to navigate the world that is easy for them. And I think there's like a particular part, and I don't want to spoil it, but there's a particular part in the first volume that really moved me to tears, because it has to do with in relation to Uno and like an incident that happens. It's just, I felt his pain in that moment, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, so relatable, so real. This actually got so many awards in Japan, and I have no doubt that this will definitely get an anime for sure. If not this year, next year. If not next year, the year after that, because it is just so real. This manga truly has a special place in my heart, and I can't wait for the day that an anime comes out. And I'm also waiting for like the next, I guess, 2 volumes to come out so that I can start collecting it too. So the next series that I read, and I actually filmed a whole vlog reading this series from start to finish, and that is Kare First Love. This one, 5 out of 5 stars. This one's basically about this girl named Kare. She's a basic girl and, doesn't really stand out too much. Is pretty introverted towards herself. She has this friend named Yuka, and Yuka's pretty much her bully. It's not even a friend, but like her bully. One day, Yuka drags Karen to like this small mixer with this popular boy that Yuka really wants to get with. His name is Kare. Kare starts to show more interest in Karen than he does with Yuka. Obviously, because Yuka's just giving weird, vibes and whatnot, but Karen, she's like, again, to herself and whatnot, and trying not to attract attention. But also, another factor as to why Kare is interested in Karen is because earlier, this happens like in like the first pages, he runs into her on the train, and there's like a small incident that happens that kind of embarrasses her and him, and he just is like, oh, I'm so sorry, and she's just like, I literally hate you. And like then so they meet again, and then he's like, hey yo, trying to like reconcile and whatnot. So the story takes off from there. I really liked this series. I think it was really cute. It was somewhat basic. It's not necessarily anything new or profound, but it was definitely a nice series to read, especially because, well, for me at least, I had a week off of school before my summer classes started, so reading something like that was a bit slow paced, not too crazy, nothing complex happening, no like, you know, complex world building or whatnot, just a basic story about like this girl and this guy, and they're like slowly getting together and whatnot. Was really cute. I think another thing that I enjoyed about this series was the way different topics are portrayed. For example, peer pressure, so real. I mean, even not only for like, you know, teenagers in this novel, but I think this can even apply to like even adults. Also bullying. There was also, again, first time with like relationships and whatnot. I'm probably going to link the video because I go into more depth about my thoughts about the whole series and whatnot without spoiling it, so don't worry. I did enjoy this a lot, and I felt like it was just a nice comfort read, and I love the ending especially. I loved, because I haven't seen that in any shoujo at all. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it, because again, I talked about it more in my reading vlog. Very good story, nothing too crazy, but it is a nice comfort read of just watching a girl have her first relationship and learning about herself through that relationship, learning about her partner. So the next manga series that I read is the one I mentioned, that it's, so this mangaka is the same mangaka that has recently come out with the manga Roar in the Abyss, but this manga series that I'm about to mention is an older series that she wrote. This one was absolutely insane. Reading this older series of her really set the stage for the newer series. Basically, this manga series is called Guilty. I feel like it should be called something else, like just Mind Trip, because that's what it felt like. Full on mind trip, not guilty. I mean, there's some people who definitely should be guilty. I feel like most characters in the story are guilty, kind of the main character too in some way, but mostly everybody else. Basically, there's this woman named Ayaka, and she's 35. She's in this 10-year-long marriage, no kids, and that's how she likes it. But she starts to change a bit, and she starts to now want to have kids. And her partner, who initially was like, yeah, like we should not have kids, is like, are you mentioning kids now? Like, you never wanted kids. And she's like, yeah, but I don't know, like I feel like I want kids now. And you know, something just changed in her that she just wants to have kids now, and her partner is not having it, and this upsets her. She goes to this bar that she usually goes to, drinks it up, is explaining to like the bartender, like, you know, this and this happened at home. And then she has her drinking buddy named Rue. Then the story kind of continues on from there. A lot of things happen. If I say any more, it would probably be a spoiler, but it is just a whole drama fest. One thing after another. Plot twist like after plot twist. There's like plot twists in places where you're like, what the hell? Why is there a plot twist here? Like, what would you mean this person knows this person? This person apparently betrayed this person. This person teamed up with this person to go after this person. Like, insanity written in 13 volumes, basically 13 volumes of insanity. That's what it is. And it's like, oh my goodness, like it honestly felt like I couldn't catch a breath, and there were times where I really wanted to drop it. Because it was getting to a point where like certain characters were just so toxic and their behavior was just like unhinged, and I'm like, what the hell? But then at the same time, I couldn't stop reading. Like I feel like if I stopped reading, I would have been like, but what happens next? But what happens next? Like, does this get resolved? And so it was so, like, it was painful, but also somewhat enjoyable. Oh my gosh, the drama again. This mangaka, I don't know what was going on in her mind, but it's like she just threw every possible dramatic thing that could happen into your life in this drama, like divorce, depression, betrayal, addiction. And so I ended up giving this series a 3.5 out of 5 star, honestly, because I mean, again, as much as it was toxic and somewhat enjoyable, I did not think that 13 volumes was like, I didn't think it was necessary. It was not necessary at all to make this whole series 13 volumes. Like, this could have easily been at least maybe 10, maybe 11, you know, I would have been fine with, but 13, like those last 2 volumes, I was dragging myself. They weren't bad, but I felt like I wanted the story to end. Alright, so the next series is Sakura Saku, volume 7 in particular. I would give this one 3 out of 5 stars. This volume made me really upset with the main female lead. I guess without giving it away, she has a certain doubt in the main male lead that just makes me like, okay, but like, get over it. Like, the main male lead made something very clear to her, but she's still having these doubts and she's still acting weird, and it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. This volume was definitely not my favorite. I did not like the female lead and like her thought process, and it just felt like she had way too much unnecessary doubt. Even when things were made clear to her, she just had too much doubt, and I'm just like, I don't know. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. This one's really okay, so the last one is the 31st Consort. This one absolutely love. I cannot wait for the second volume, third volume for them to be released. Basically, it's about this young girl who is, you know, living in her normal life, you know, city life and whatnot. And then her brother comes and he's like, hey, the prince is looking for a wife and there's like, you know, consorts and I put you in. And she's like, why would you do that? And he's like, well, you need to get married and you might get married. So she ends up having to become the 31st consort of the prince. And 31st, I mean, she's like way at the bottom. Like she's basically at the bottom, I should say, at the bottom. And she is not like situated in like a nice, you know, villa or a nice place. Like her place is literally like a shack, an abandoned shack with nothing. And to, you know, I guess any other girl, it would be like, oh, like this sucks. But to her, she sees this as like a playground. She loves getting her hands like messy. She loves making things and, you know, growing things, growing vegetables, cooking, and she loves like the outdoorsy stuff. So this is like her haven. And the knights who bring her here, they're like, yo, this is weird. Like, would you feel bad? Like, every other girl is getting pampered and whatnot, but you're getting this. And she's like, this is my heaven. This is my paradise. Like, I love this. You know, the story takes off from there. I just really loved, again, the main female lead, like, just how, like, her, like, you know, enjoy outdoors, enjoying nature. Yeah, it was just really enjoyable. I really liked it. I also really liked the main male lead, and I just like this where the story is going. I think it's gonna be a really cute and wholesome story. All right, so those are all the manga series I've been reading right now. Okay, I'm continuing on Kami-sama Kiss, and then I'm also reading continue on to read this book right here. Oh, this could be forever. I don't have it here with me, but the book that I won in a Goodread giveaway. I haven't started reading that, but I want to read that and see where that story goes. That's pretty much it for this video. If there are any books that you've been recently reading or any manga series that you've been reading, please let me know. Let me know your thoughts on them, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.